What did you say?
Mudda secret.
What?
Mudda secret.
Well, Mudda sick. Well, Mudda sick. Greetings, everyone. This is another episode of Well, Mudda sick. Here live at, for now, Chosen Few Studios. Like always, if you want to sponsor this podcast or any other of our products here on the Original People Network, email us at theoriginalpeoplenetwork@gmail.com. Slide in our DM, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, and I think Threads. Yeah, you could find us on Threads. What the hell was that? Anyway, in a continuation of going on this journey of the deconstruction of me. In the last episode, I talked about the superhero syndrome. Always trying to show up in a perfect kind of way and always being relied upon to save the day and not having a moment's rest of not being able to take the world off your shoulders. When there's impending doom, people are looking for Superman or the Fantastic Four to come to save the day. And it seems like the world ends when there's no answers to that. And quite honestly, that's unfair to you as a mere mortal to shoulder those burdens. And you feel like you have to perform for those things. But another result of this, I guess, performing or being performative is you get in a space where you become a master of disguise. A double agent. You have a double life. Like this past weekend, I was watching The Eyes of Wakanda, and it sort of explores the history of the war dogs, which are Wakanda spies, which these are Wakandians. Is it Wakandians? Oh, correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm saying their nationality wrong. But their mission is to go out in the world and spy on the other nations for Wakanda, so to bring back intel. Sometimes their missions takes months, weeks, months, up to years, and sometimes decades to accomplish one thing. They're sleeper cells. You know, they reconstructed their lives to fit whatever environment they are, so they can blend in. But in the back of their mind, their true intentions and their true mission is still at the forefront. You might know them as Sam, but their real name might be Mas. They created the character of Sam to appease whoever is in front of them from a day to day, but they have a whole other personality named Mas that only select few people know about. They personally know about, and it comes to a point where, as I'm using this example, where they might prefer Sam than Mas, but they don't understand that Sam isn't the real person and Mas is. Or whatever Mas knew to be true isn't anymore. Or Sam and Mas is actually becoming the same person. So, the master of disguise. I look at myself. When you grow up as the sneaky kid, at which many of us have grown up because, you know, you have very restrictive parents and you live in a very conservative society. Well, it started more so in the home because you become that sneaky kid. So you already know, for whatever reason or whatever philosophy, your parents say no to certain things. So you, instead of accepting the no, you just learn how to circumvent the system. So you start keeping secrets, you start hiding, you start being way more crafty. And that's what I was, one of the sneaky kids. Now I wasn't super sneaky, but you know, still I had to do the thing. What I'm doing now, what I talk about, I had to sneak and do it. Because, you know, I was one of them, you couldn't watch TV during the week. So guess what? I had to sneak and do it. Whether it be certain toys or whatever for a long time. And that sneakiness sort of created, in my mind, on a subconscious level, started creating an image to appease one set of people, but then also you becoming a sneaky kid, you start creating a caricature to be appease, I guess, your peers or the people that you're trying to, I guess, get acknowledgement from. So now you live in this duality of which real person is you? Is it the person that you show to your, in this case, to your parents and people of the ilk that see you one way, or is it the other caricature you created to appease and be cool with your peer group? Now, as you grow from a child, this duality might continue. And a lot of times it does continue, where you can be those two things, two identities can be one and the same. And I guess as you grow older, they sort of do become, or if you can continue to put up that front, it continues until the day you die. But for me, it was more so I had a way with, I didn't like Justin Williamson. I'll be frank with that. I didn't like, because I didn't feel like that was an individual that was created by me. It was something that was given to me. I was supposed to do this, that, and that, which I never really fully agreed with. So when it came to, and then that came with a certain set of narratives in the beginning. So I created something else to be more exactly how I interpret life and how I see it. And that's where the whole Jay Willard Sage, Mr. Cool Fresh, also known as the Great Underland. I can't even say it no more as fast as I do. But let me try it again. Jay Willard Sage, Mr. Cool Fresh, also known as the Agent 01, the creator Alexander A. Dub. Like, all of that was the personality that I was crafting at a young age. And there was a separation between the two, because I know I had to be this good old boy for parents, family members, church people, teachers, whatever. But then it was this artistic person where I was expressing myself in this form and fashion. And obviously this continued, a distinction where this really stood out when it was finally time for me to leave where I'm from and go live abroad for a long period of time, which most people, now that I'm back home and been back home, it's going to make, next year going to make 10 years. A lot of people don't know about my Atlanta years. And they just saw what was the final product that came back. And it took them a while to understand that, because that's when slowly those two characters started to become one. So now there's no distinction in my mind, and to the general public, there's no really distinction between Lord Jaylin Willard, Jesse Sum, and Justin Williamson. All of them is one and the same. And that's how it always been for me. But it's not fragmented in my mind anymore. It's like, wait, this is what it is. Take it or leave it. But that probably comes with age a lot of times, because you don't care no more. You don't care what people think. And that's the other thing too. You're afraid of being judged, so you create images of yourself that are easily digestible for people depending on who you go around. So when I moved to Atlanta, I became exactly and fully who I always wanted to be. And because it started off with me going to art school, so I didn't have to be in a very traditional setting. Everybody was expressive. It was when I went to art school, that's when I started getting back into anime. When I started learning more about comics, getting into fashion, getting into art, understanding art was obviously during the classes. I'm with the gaming majors. I'm with the music majors. I'm with the fashion majors. That's when I really started learning how to cook, because you're with the culinary majors. Just fully 100% of the time you were in a creative space. I'm in a creative space city. You're in a metropolitan city. Pick it a little, going to little 5 where the hipsters be, to where you go to more to the bourgeoisie sections, and you're fulfilling elements in your life that you always longed for and wanted to see an outside representation of. So long story short, when it's time to come back, I think a lot of kids especially from the Caribbean and potentially Africa as well, you go off to school and you create this caricature of yourself that you fully embrace and fully are and you're free to be. But then when it's time to come back home, you start to figure out, am I going to still stay this person, or am I going to revert back to who I was or create that two duality to where it's like, I'm gonna be this way in this setting and this way in that setting. And I guess for me, it was me still understanding the environment that I was coming back in. But thank God, I always say that things have progressed from a creative side and how the average Bahamian looked by the time I came back home, late 2016 into 2017. So yeah, I didn't have to worry too much about that. Everybody knew about social media, what a social influencer was. I started to see replications of what I saw abroad here. So it wasn't that much of a transition. But obviously, the biggest transition is people still thinking that you're that same person that they knew 7 to 10 years prior, when you then went through a whole evolution a couple times and you came out as a different person. Now, over the years, people had to find out like, hey, this guy is very articulate. He can really speak. Oh, he's into these things where they're sort of weird, but then let some time pass. Oh, he's a genius. And you're gonna be heavily scrutinized when you're a little ahead of the game, but then that goes back to you're creating these disguises as forms of protection, not only for you but for other people. Like, you don't want that scrutiny, you don't want to be judged constantly, so you make a easily digestible version of yourself. This duality also leads to people feeling like they know who you really are when you already know they don't. They think you wouldn't do this or you wouldn't do that, or you would do this and you would do that, and you only show them like one side of you, but they ain't know the 5-6 sides, or they ain't know that you're not even talking to a person, you're talking to the mask. The real person on something else, or the real person, the mask is a part of them, but that's only one mask. You see what I'm saying? The mask. Why do people create masks? I remember this phrase where it says everyone wears 3 masks. The first mask is what they show the world. The second mask is what they show people closest to them. And the third mask, nobody ever sees. For me, starting with Mudda Sick is me showing all the masks. It was me started being vulnerable, not only with myself, but just putting it out there because it might help somebody. And as I'm going through this process of peeling back the layers and peeling back the mask, it was like, I had to come to the realization that, hey, I don't have to really be a secret agent anymore. I don't have to be Batman and Bruce Wayne no more. I can't really hide anymore. I remember I just recently did a radio station interview. I'm trying to keep it low, trying to hide my son. I ain't trying to outshine nobody or make anybody feel no type of way. But as soon as the host put 2 and 2 together, they was like, hold on, you got this big superstar up here? And I was like, I really didn't want this interview to be all the way about me. But at last we're here. But I realized, hey, it's somewhat, you do these things to get the audience and the attraction, and not really because you're trying to soothe your own ego. I mean, to some degree you do, but more so you're trying to push towards to make whatever you're doing profitable, because obviously you need a customer base to sell to in order to bring in income. And that's how I always logistically look at it, not looking at it, doing it for fame or whatever, but looking at it as it's going to bring me the monetary opportunities that I so desire, so I can fund exactly and what I truly want to do. So it started off like that. Then it started off with a mistrust of human beings. You realize you can't trust everybody. So why give them the full version of you when you could give them a version that is easily digestible for them and doesn't rock the boat? So you keep your opinions to yourself. You limit interactions. You create certain boundaries for them to interact with you in, and you keep them there. Now, their world and their bubble pops when they realize this ain't the full length of the person, And sometimes that's unfortunate, and I've learned that that's not a necessary fair for people. But I think that's just a part of learning. You learn that you have to grow out of things. You have to unlearn a lot of, like, me going through this deconstruction made me realize a lot of things I was just doing out of survival. And you get to a point where you realize you don't have to be in survival mode anymore. Things are what they are. Again, preparing for that Godfather era. And more than the past era, because not only because it was a good era, it was a lot of strife in the area, but you got emotionally attached to the area. And a lot of us are emotionally attached to being in survival mode, to where we in peace. It's almost like you have a PTSD from being in war. The war over, but you still in that mode. You still thirst for blood and you still thirst for the thrill, but you don't have to do that anymore. And you just got to get to a point to where you be like, okay, I could put that down now. I don't have to be this way anymore. And it makes you realize, okay, certain things need to change and you got to just change for the better. And that change can be slow. You have to move off of certain people, move away from certain circumstances to get to the truest you. You have to take a step back and woosah. Look at everything and how everything constructed, because you would get lost in your own sauce. I forget what his name is on Eyes of Wakanda. You got lost in the life that you concocted, which wasn't really you. It happens to the best of us. But I think part of the growth and healing is realizing that you don't have to put on a hide anymore and put on a mask. You can be truly you. And if people can't accept that, then screw them. And it's just simple as that. We're ever changing and ever evolving beings. Seasons come to an end. And that goes a lot for situations and situationships, friends and friendships, other opportunities and other alliances. Because it came to an end for certain things before certain eras, but that was such a long time ago, it doesn't even compute anymore. But when you transition into a new era, you got to shake old dead weight. You got to clean house, clear everything. Even when you're building a new home or you're going to do some massive renovations, you got to throw out things that you've been holding on to that serve you no more purpose. And part of it is the mask. So today, I fully see myself as, I guess, one and the same. I feel like the more I age, less I become more truly me. Everything is a part of me. What I do, there's really no distinction. I mean, it's just different facets of me. Some days I want to be a boho hipster. Other days I want to be wacky and whimsical. Other days I just want to be quiet, and then other days I want to be loud. But that dynamic should be allowed for me to express all the time, regardless of whatever. And it's unfortunate that we still have grown people in their 40s, 50s, 60s still being pressured by an image that they have to uphold. Dying with an image to uphold. Forget that image. Forget that mask. Take it all off. Get undressed. And bare your body to the world and saying, yo, this is me. And in order for me to continue to be me, I have to always be true to me. And you got to know the mission's over. You don't got to gather intel. What is done is done. I can speak for me. I don't got to do what I got to do. And that sneakiness come with it. I remember even working some jobs, you got to sneak on the low to do this because whichever you sign or whatever. I ain't got to do none of that no more. People don't know what it is. So I got to feel bashful or try to hide certain portions of my life no more. And I'm talking to myself right here. Just be free. And it is what it is. And whoever don't like it, don't like it. So that's coming from the master disguise. And when I said playing Batman and Bruce Wayne no more, Batman as a real person and Bruce Wayne is the mask. But ain't nobody. Sometimes you're, again, as a man that needs psychological help, in the case of Bruce Wayne, the mask is comforting, and that's why the mask is actually him. And him without the cowl on is the real mask, because he uses it to get to his end goal. Well, what happens when you finally get to the end goal? Is the mask still needed? Aren't you tired of hiding who you truly are? Or not even being tired of who you truly are, tired of just keeping the image. And just be like, I'm tired. I don't need to do this no more. But we'll never know when Mud is sick. So thank you all again for listening to another episode of When Mud is Sick. We continue this series of deconstruction because there's a lot of notes. I think I have a poem inside there. Let me see. Which I would like to read. Let me see if it's correlated to this. Maybe not. Let me see. I didn't think so. Wait, hold on. All right. No, I ain't got that poem. But thank you all for listening again to another episode with Mudda Sick. Always love bringing these to y'all and these little tidbits and moments of me in my self-reflective mood. There's going to be more deconstruction as I think about more things, as you dive into more things. And I'm making this a whole series as I deconstruct myself. But thank you all for, supporting, sharing the links, taking time out your busy day to listening to the different episodes. We got more on the way. I got big announcements coming soon. Your boy about to go on to the top. But if you've been there from the beginning, thank you for continuing on the journey. And if you just knew, take a look back at what we got. But as always, if you want to sponsor this show or any other show on the Original People Network, feel free. Slide in a DM. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Threads. I feel like I forget one more platform. Anyway, Snapchat, if you have my Snapchat. Blue Social, if you got that, whatever. But, email us at theoriginalpeoplenetwork@gmail.com. We get you straight. The boy is getting bigger. We're going to come out this small room. You see over the years, it used to be audio. Now we in a room, some part of the studio. But soon I'm going to be hitting these stages with this work and this word. See what I'm saying? Yeah, see. Until next time. Peace.